You think they're running Earthquake? 10, 11, 12. Alright. I'm gonna swap after this. I mean, if they're running Earthquake, I deserve this. Oh, I deserve this. Oh, wait, I live it? This is a tier list of how good they are, not how good the changes were to them, right? So let's say they got a big buff to like Ampharos. It would not be an S tier pick because of big buff. It's still not a great Pokemon, right? My apologies to Butters, but it's the truth. So the first thing, this is actually a pretty big one. Wing attack energy generation increase. This is actually huge. We're doing mostly Great League, mostly, because that's what most people are playing. I mean, it gets really weird if you go into like Ultra League and Master League. I will say this first one is a pretty big one though, because for those that play Little Cup, this Pokemon is very, very prevalent, and that is Ducklet. It's so good they actually had to ban it in Element Cup Remix this time around. I would say in terms of for Element Cup, it is easily S tier. Obviously, you're not using this for Great League, so I don't recommend. But for Element Cup, it's actually pretty nice. I mean, with the potential to bait with Bubble Beam and then having hard-hitting Brave Bird, like Brave Bird in Little Cup still hurts Chinchou quite a bit, and you resist that. And against Galarian Stunfisk in Jungle Cup, Little Jungle Cup. So just getting higher energy generation on that is kind of nuts. But that'll be the only Little Cup Pokemon I'm talking about here. We can't forget Noctowl, one of the most common Pokemon you see in both Great League and play Pokemon tournaments. The most recent one, Latin America International Championships, JW Naldo, as well as a bunch of other top tier players also used Noctowl, and it's kind of good. And here's the thing, if you've been keeping up with Twitter lately, you'll know there's a lot of discussion over Noctowl, and I think everyone has a consensus it's really good. The main debate is whether it's important enough to have breakpoints or, you know, high rank or whatever. Isn't Gligar better as well? You'll have Gliscor. Yeah, oh yeah, so I kind of consolidate some stuff just because I'm not going to do like every single thing that can learn Wing Attack. There's a lot of different things, right? So I'm going to pull out the most meta stuff or combine some of the things. Because you mentioned Gligar or Gliscor, let's talk about it. So this is going to be an interesting one. It's good. It's ranked much higher than it was before. So let's take a look at Great League Remix at the moment. So Great League Remix is ranked 24, non-Shadow, 49 Shadow. Obviously, I'm using PvPoke, best resource for PvP. Shout out to Kakuna. Gliscor is ranked 15 on Open Great League. So that's pretty nice. And the Shadow's ranked 24. So it seems like the Shadow just not the bulk you need. But for Ultra League, it's a different story. Ultra League, Gliscor, Shadow ranked 5. Non-Shadow ranked 9. I'd say overall, I'm leaning towards like a low A, high B. Let's put it at A for now. The problem with Gliscor is you're really weak to waters, right? You're really weak to ice. Aurora's got a huge check. There's Swampert. And it walls off all of Registeel's movesets. Unless you're running Flash Cannon, which maybe some people would, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Alright, so let's see how hard this beats Registeel going straight Earthquake. Yeah, straight Earthquake. Yo, that is actually kind of wild. I might bump this down to a B tier. Dude, Gliscor against a Registeel in Great League going straight Earthquake loses the 0 and 2 shield scenario. You only win it's a 0 and 1 shield scenario. You only win 2 shield scenario with Gliscor resisting all the moves. What? All right, let's try Ultra League. All right, you convincingly beat Registeel in Ultra League. I will say that, non-Shadow. Let's go with Shadow. And the Shadow you lose in 2 shield against Registeel. Yeah, that's I'll put it at low A for now, I guess. It's not. I mean, obviously there's more than just a Registeel matchup, right? It has interesting typing. It's just super weak to ice. So there's that. Anyway, we'll maybe revisit that later. Yo, this is a big one. Pidgeot. Pidgeot's nice. Now, in the context of for just Great League, I think Noctowl's going to be better. But Pidgeot in Ultra League is going to be busted. Like I said, this is mostly focused on Great League, so I won't put too much stock into that. But Pidgeot with Wing Attack is strictly just better than Gust. And it's pretty much at the point where it was Pidgeot is as good as they pre-nerfed Feather Dance. Remember when they initially, before they released Feather Dance, it was lower energy? Well, then they bumped it up. So now when you can generate energy so much faster, it's going to feel like the Feather Dance nerf. So it's going to be quite good. Mantine, I put as C maybe. Wing attack buff is interesting for it, but the thing is a lot of times you kind of want that bubble coverage. Like against Glaring Stunfisk, you want to just run straight bubble. Against like Bastion, bubble's just better. And it's just like a worse Pelipper because Bubble Beam is just not great. It could be interesting in some self metas and some restricted cups, but I think in an open tier format, it's not great. And definitely don't use a Mantine in Ultra League. Staraptor, top of C. It's still really glassy. It's still very, very glassy. It's the problem. Yeah, Staraptor's ranked like in the 7. No, it's actually, let's just put this in D. It's actually pretty bad. It's so bad in Great League, and it's not that much better in Ultra League. Yeah, let's just let's put in D. It's not good. Like you could cheese off some wins like against like a Bastion land in close combat, but it just lacks bulk, right? Yo, this is a big one. Pelipper. I'm gonna put it here, number 2. I'm putting it above Noctowl. Main reason is one of the two really popular Pokemon both go Battle League and play Pokemon Go Championship Series tournaments is Galarian Stunfisk and Swampert for this season. And Pelipper just beats both outright. Pelipper and Galarian Stunfisk already went kind of even before the buff because they reached their respective Weather Ball and Rock Slide moves at the same exact time. And Pelipper always wins charge from priority. So outside of the zero shields, because Galarian Stunfisk I think could tank 2 Weather Balls, whereas Pelipper can't. That was post Weather Ball nerf. But nowadays, you just hard win. Okay, no, you still lose the zero shields, actually. Oh, that's unfortunate. But you win the 1 shields pretty decisively. You win the 2 shields pretty decisively. I mean, I guess that's how it was before, right? But before, what happened is if Galarian Stunfisk had a 1 mud-shot lead, you just win. Because you're 1 mud-shot ahead, you get your Rock Slide 1 turn, or 1 fast move before they get to their Weather Ball. But let's say if the Galarian Stunfisk has a mud-shot lead, you can still win it in the 1 shield and 2 shield. You can counter swap a steel ground type with Pelipper and still beat it. Let's say they have a 2 mud-shot lead. What happens there? 2 mud-shot lead, you only win the 2 shield. So something to know, right? If you're a little slow on their counter swap, then you're probably going to lose. If they go anything... Well, 2 mud-shot leads, you can still win it, right? 3 mud-shot lead, I think that's probably no good. Yeah, no, you don't win. So if you're too slow on the counter swap, then it's not great. But the fact that you could counter swap a Galarian Stunfisk and beat it with a Pelipper is huge. You also just beat Swampert, especially since all the Swamperts these days are running Earthquake. They're not running Sludge Wave, so they don't have anything non-resistant they can throw at you. The reason why Pelipper is so good is because it not only beats top-tier Pokemon, but it completely reshapes the meta. I'll talk about this more later. But now, I'm pretty sure Galarian Stunfisk is going to fall to a wayside, and Registeel is going to be the top Steel type again. Registeel didn't drop off in usage because of the nerf to Zapcan, and like that's barely a nerf if you call it one. It's because Walrein usage dropped. And because Walrein usage dropped, Nidoqueen usage increased, which is a hard check to Registeel. But with a Nidoqueen nerf, I'll talk about that more later, Registeel is also stronger. But also Registeel actually beat Pelipper and Noctowl consistently, whereas Galarian Stunfisk can't. I mean, you have all these people simming Noctowl breakpoints into Galarian Stunfisk. Like, they're going to beat the Galarian Stunfisk with Noctowl, and obviously Pelipper beats it too. So, yeah, these two in itself, especially the Pelipper, deserve the S tier for sure. Honestly, I'll put this here. Ducklet's not that. I mean, Ducklet's pretty game-changing for Little Cup, but Little Cup's not that important. Pelipper in Ultra League? Potentially. I mean, let's check the rankings. I have one. You had the best buddy, a hundo, and I have one made. The problem is, I'll put it this way. Before this update, it was it's ranked 33. It's not terrible. I used a Pelipper. I counter swapped a Swampert, save swapped my Pelipper, and I lost. Or I had to shield. I had to spend more shields than them to win that matchup. They were throwing straight Hydro Cannon. They didn't have Sludge Wave. Like, that's how bad Pelipper is in Ultra League. So, but I think the buff will help. This is good. This is a cool one. Charizard. I'm also gonna put it here. Gliscor feels a little weird. Charizard has interesting coverage. I don't know. These two are kind of similar. I think Charizard I would put a little bit higher because it's very It's spicy, but with the energy lead, you can actually do quite a bit outside, like against like a Bastion, right? I don't expect to see it too much on competitive teams, just like Gliscor, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone does well with it. And in Go Battle League, like easy, someone could do well with that, I think. Moltres, yeah, Moltres is not great. Maybe some lower tiers, yeah. Galarian Moltres. You got Wing Attack, Ancient Power, Brave Bird, and Payback. Not great, but honestly, I could definitely see it having some usage in some niche cups. I would actually put it before Staraptor. Staraptor's just kind of bad, I feel like, across the board. Galarian Moltres, I could see it having some interesting usage in some niche cups, but it's super hard, inaccessible, and I wouldn't put too much stock into it. It's very glassy still. You have an Ancient Power Bates, which can give you a boost. You have Brave Bird, great move, and then Payback, which could be interesting. I mean, the typing is interesting enough that you could wall off stuff, right? It's a Mana Bus typing. Poison Fang nerf. Energy cost increase. This is huge. This is huge. And this is another reason why stuff like Registeel is going to be better now. Mainly because of this one right here. Nidoqueen. It was really good with the Poison Jab, but taking an extra Poison Jab to get to those moves changes so many things, I think. Let's see how Nidoqueen ranks in Great League. It is ranked 136 Shadow and 163 non-Shadow. Dude, Nidoqueen dropped from like the top like 30 to like 100 plus. Dropped over 100 points in rankings. This is mostly Great League tier, but I'm curious in Ultra League. Yeah, Ultra League is 75 Shadow, 105 non-Shadow. I mean, Ultra League is a little bit hard to use anyway because of all the like Ghost Dragons and stuff and Ghosts. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a worthy nerf, and it does hurt Nidoqueen quite a bit, but this has huge implications because it changes the meta. It makes Registeel a lot safer. It makes certain fairy types a little bit safer too, like maybe Tapu Fini, maybe Azumarill and stuff like that. But Registeel usage increase doesn't actually help that too much. I actually forgot about this Wing Attacker. Golbat. Golbat, funny enough, I think is still throwing the Poison Fangs on 5 because the Wing Attack buff, but then the Poison Fang nerf. Golbat, I don't think really went too many places. So I'll put this at B for now. Golbat's also pretty solid though in a lot of specialty cups, and then Silph cups as well, and certain GBL cups, right, like All Wing cups and stuff like that. So it could be solid. The other one, the Crobats. I put Crobat as C. It's really not that great in Great League. And then the Poison Fang nerf definitely hurts it, and you don't have Wing Attack, so you're not really benefiting from that. It's okay in Ultra League, like especially in those Ultra League Halloween cups and stuff. But again, I'm mostly focused on Great League metas. But let's just see how Crobat sims. Ooh, whoa, what? 239. That's actually pretty bad. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe Crobat I will move it lower. Yeah, it's in the 400s. Whew. Yikes. Let's put it in D. It's got probably more utility than Galarian Moltres, but yeah, it's I think the not being able to bait with Poison Fang as easily is also kind of rough. Yo, this thing is trash. Fast new pressure only, some cheese strats. I put at D. The thing is, Sharpedo, especially Shadow Sharpedo in certain cups, like some little cups or whatever, its utility is the waterfall pressure. So not having the Poison Fang as early is like, it's not the end of the world. But the Poison Fang nerf definitely hurts it. Because the problem is you go from like barely getting off one Poison Fang to getting off no Poison Fangs. So, yeah, it's kind of hurts Salazzle. I put it as C. I mean, Salazzle could have some interesting play. I think not being able to get that Poison Fang off as easily is going to hurt it for sure. Because Incinerate's just so slow, right? You want the Incinerate damage to add up. It could be interesting, though. As a typing, the Pokemon's really good. It has really interesting coverage moves, but the Poison Fang is just not great. It ranks in 283, so a little bit better than stuff like Crobat at least. And the Salazzle you could use in Ultra League too, but 253, yeah, again, not that great. We got Charm. Charm as a whole, I'm just going to use represented with Ninetales, just because it's one of the most popular Charm Pokemon in all the formats outside of Master League. It's not like Charm is still bad, right? Like you can still you should still be beating Sableyes and Medichams and Fighters and Zweilous, Guzzlords with it, right? So and the typing of Fairy is still very strong. It's just that Charm is doing less damage. It's almost like when they nerfed Razor Leaf for the, the people running Shadow Victory Bells and stuff, and Shadow throttles. It's just not able to muscle through as many bad matchups anymore. So it definitely hurts, and you think 16 damage to 15 damage is like not a big difference, but it definitely adds up. I will say though, with less Nidoqueen usage, it could be okay, but the problem is you don't need Nidoqueen to handle as easily anymore, right? You still have, everyone typically has a Steel type on their team, and then if it's not doing as much damage, you can kind of go neutral against it a lot of times. Like Medicham actually has a lot of play into Charmers already with the Psychics landing and stuff, so... And especially when you're doing neutral counters to stuff like Alolan Ninetales and Wigglytuff. So I'll put it at the top of B for now. Alolan Ninetales also might not be nearly as good into Walreins anymore, right? With Charm. And Walreins's not nearly as meta, but if it is, it's... Yeah, Alolan Ninetales was a very reliable check. You didn't have to shield the Earthquake. Alright, so Litleo and Pyroar gets Incinerate. I'm honestly only going to talk about Litleo because Pyroar is just kind of like a worse version of Litleo, I think. Especially in Great League. It's like a spice pick. It could be good in some stuff like Holiday Cup or something, or some other formats, but it's really hard to use in open formats. It's just weak to so many things, right? Incinerate is a good move, but 5-turn moves are also just so slow. It's so easy to optimize against, and it's so easy to for them to lock you in. You can't sack swap because you're in the middle of like a whole fast move. Like if you get sack swap with a 5-turn move Pokemon, like using it in the lead and sacking it something else, your opponent is just like not playing well at all, because it should be super hard to actually catch anything when you're using Incinerate user. All right, Sudowoodo gets Meteor Beam. It's okay. Sudowoodo just has a lot of weaknesses, right? Grass, water, fighting, ground, steel. Put it here. Yeah, Sudowoodo is interesting. Could be good for certain Silph Cubs, but the thing is, a lot of times too, you kind of want to throw the Rock Slide, right? Rock Slide's less energy, if I'm not mistaken. So you kind of need to... Let me double check before I missay something here. All right, Meteor Beam is 60 energy. Rock Slide is 45. This is the problem here, right? You have a chance to buff yourself by 1 attack stage. But the problem with Meteor Beam is it's more energy intensive, and a lot of times you're throwing the Rock Slide to bait so you can land an Earthquake. So the problem with Meteor Beam is you have a more expensive bait move now. Obviously, a Meteor Beam landing is great, but a lot of times the Rock Slide is enough for what you need to do, right? Honestly, I put it at top of D, to be honest. It just doesn't really help it much, you know? It's still not a good Pokemon, unfortunately. Aggron getting charged attack Meteor Beam as well. Do you need more fast move pressure? So here's the only case for Aggron. Mega Aggron. Mega Aggron could be pretty decent because for Master League it's pure Steel type, and you can run like Dragon Tail and then throw Meteor Beam later. So that could be interesting. But the problem is, we're talking about regular Aggron, not Mega Aggron, so we're gonna put it all the way here. It's got the same typing at Bastion, right? So if I don't even like Aggron, you know it's not great. Tyrantrum getting Meteor Beam. Tyrantrum's a weird one. I don't love it. I don't love it. Like, it's maybe here. It just doesn't have great typing in general, and it has weird moves. So let's talk about the moves that Tyrantrum has, right? I mean, it's good to, like, who knows, they might buff it later. How do you even spell Tyrantrum? Okay, here we go. It's got Dragon Tail. It's Dragon and Rock. And it has Dragon Tail, Charm, which got nerfed, and then Rock Throw, which is not the best move. And it's got Meteor Beam, Crunch, Earthquake, Outrage, Stone Edge. Like, yeah, Meteor Beam's a little cheaper. Actually, no, Meteor Beam's more expensive than Stone Edge. So, again, it's just like, it's the increased energy is not really helping it much. But its counterpart, though, Aurorus, this thing is actually really good right now. If you look at the Great League Remix meta, it's top of the list. If you look at Ultra League, it's also really highly ranked. In Open Great League, not so much. So obviously, I will say that, you know, that is one thing. But Aurorus, that's just a placeholder. I'm not actually putting it in C tier, a B tier at the moment. Aurorus in Open Ultra League is ranked 20 overall with Meteor Beam. Kind of bonkers. I mean, there's more bulk in it too. Dude, what? It's ranked 18 in Open Great League? That's actually kind of wild too. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Aurorus is actually a really good check to Frostlass metas because it actually resists the Powder Stones and Avalanche, and so you have to go for Shadow Ball, whereas you could get to Meteor Beam pretty quickly, and yeah, you just resist the moves too. Wait, let me double check. Yeah, Meteor Beam just hits so hard. Actually, Meteor Beam, you technically get to Meteor Beam later. So maybe that's not the best. Yeah, it's 5 more energy. But Aurora's is definitely moving up. And I think the hype is legit. Obviously, Weather Ball is probably baiting a lot of these wins. It could be interesting. I put it here. Put it here. Could be good. And a hard beats Gligar. That's for sure. Glistor and Gligar. So, yeah. Yeah, it's decent into Pelipper, too. It's actually decent. Sim Hero. Yeah, definitely a Sim Hero for sure. I think the biggest difference for Aurora's is that even though it takes more energy to get to the Meteor Beams than Frostas would. I'm just using Frostas as an example, right? Because I remember that specific matchup in a Still Factions meta. So let's say they don't bait, right? Now the opponent's bait, you go straight for the charge move here. Aurora's can tank a Shadow Ball. Frostas cannot tank a Meteor Beam. So that's where it comes in handy, even though it's costs more energy, right? All right, some Ghosters. We got Dusclops getting Poltergeist. That's a pretty nice one. I like that. I would have put it by A tier. I want to, I put it around here. Or maybe I put it top of C. Dusclops is interesting. It's great in like limited metas, but it's pretty bad in open metas. Yeah, I think it's worse than Golbats. So it'd be either at the bottom of B or top of C. I probably put it at C because you almost never see Dusclops in any open formats. Once in a while, you might see a Golbat here or there, but Dusclops is just kind of tough. Poltergeist is a very expensive move too, but Dusclops does have the bulk to pull it off, so could be interesting. Yo, go Lurk, man! Put it at D tier. So, I don't know why people are trying to make Golurk happen. It is not good. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I have never lost a Golurk. Maybe years ago in a Sylph meta. I don't think in recent memory I've lost a Golurk in both Ultra League and Great League, because there was a lot of them in Halloween Cup, and let me tell you, Golurk was not the play. It's Ghost Ground type. Just run Runerigus. Runerigus is so good already. You don't, like, Mudslap is such a bad move. You can't, it's not like you're charming down any steals, right, with Mudslap. Like, it's just, it doesn't work like that. Mudslap's just a bad move, and it also takes forever to generate energy, and the Poltergeist is so energy expensive. Who's getting a Poltergeist off with Golurk? Maybe once per game, but you should have the game won by then. Like, you could have easily won it 1,000 different ways. I applaud anyone that wins any battles with Golurk, but I'm telling you right now, you're playing hard mode for no reason. Like, just run Runerigus or run something else, right? Like, it's just... Gourgeist getting Poltergeist? This could be interesting. I put this at B for now. I mean, still TBD on, like, how useful it'll be. Poltergeist could be interesting on it, especially for limited metas. Like, I've definitely used it in Sylph from time to time, but also... it could be good in Ultra League as well, when you don't have access to Trevenant, maybe. But let's look at Poltergeist compared to Shadow Ball here. So Poltergeist is a little bit more energy efficient. It's 75 energy for 140 damage. That's a lot of damage. Shadow Ball is 55 energy for 100 damage. So you're trading off for 0.05 extra energy efficiency on the Poltergeist. But the problem with Poltergeist is very energy intensive. And it takes a while to get to it with Hex. But if you could land it, it could be interesting. And it has a lot of bulk. Trevenant with Poltergeist would not perform as well because you just don't have the bulk for it. Yeah, let's put it at bottom B for now. I could definitely see it in a C tier. We just haven't really seen it in action. But I think it could be an interesting Pokemon for sure. I like the coverage of it with C-Bomb better than I like Dusclops. Galarian Rapidash. High horsepower is a slightly worse move than... Earth power. But the thing is, a lot of these things are getting high horsepower. They don't have earth power, right? So earth power is 55 energy for 90 damage. High horsepower is 60 energy for 100 damage. So you gain 0.03 energy efficiency. So actually, I guess it's slightly more energy efficient, but you don't have a chance for a debuff. And honestly, you probably just want to get to the move sooner than do a little bit more damage. So I guess it's slightly better. Honestly, Galarian Rapidash is a lot of fun. It's pretty frail, but... it hits pretty hard. It gets to move super quickly. It's a lot of fun. It's very spammy. So there definitely is play there. I would probably... And it's really good in limited cups. It's not great in open, but I wouldn't be shocked if someone does really well in a tournament with this. Maybe not like finishing like first place, but maybe making top 8. That's possible. I can see it. especially because you need more fairy coverage now that Charm's nerfed. But it could be interesting. It gives it really good coverage. It just has really unique coverage and movesets, right? Yeah, it was very fun willpower. It was great in willpower, and it's also great in Psychic Cup. It was very good in Psychic Cup. Pilot Swine's another interesting one with high horsepower. So before, Pilot Swine was only learning Bulldoze as his coverage move. I'm just make sure it has nothing else. Yeah, Bulldoze, and that's about it. And then Mammal Swine as well, right? Its counterpart. Only learning Bulldoze. Bulldoze is just strictly worse of a move. So, high horsepower is 60 energy for 100 damage. Bulldoze is 60 energy for 80 damage. So, you just strictly got a 0.33 energy efficiency increase. Just straight upgrade across the board. It's more of a spice pick, though, but it could be interesting. I could definitely see Ultra League Pilot Swine doing some work, like XL. I mean, I've seen Butters use it before, and it's not too bad, but yeah, it could be interesting. Mammal Swine, so obviously Great League, Ultra League, nah, don't touch it. But for Master League, and obviously we had to consider for Master League because it's a noticeable buff. I think it's actually pretty solid. If you can land one of these things, it could definitely do some work. So you don't really. The most important thing is, even if it's not going to KO something, you have nothing to lose here. You just do more damage for the same amount of energy, right? So there's no negative here. Mammal Swine, honestly, thinking about the context of Master League, it was already pretty good. I'm not going to weight it as heavily because Aurorus has a lot of play Great League and Ultra League. This is just a Master League pick. But Mammal Swine is very strong in Master League, especially Premier, so I like it a lot. We got Galarian Weezing. Yo, this thing's like the Swiss Army knife of PvP these days, and I love it, right? It's not great in open formats, but it could be. It could be. It's just that there's a lot of ground types, but maybe if you pair with a Pelipper, I don't know. It could be interesting. It's got really great coverage. It's got Play Rough, Overheat, Brutal Swing, Hyper Beam, like a bunch of things. The only problem with Weezing right now is you can only run 2 charge moves. So that's the only thing holding it back. But it could be really solid, especially for draft formats and open formats, or limited formats, like Halloween Cup as well and Sylph. I think Galarian Weezing was ranked like top 5 or top 10. Definitely top 10, maybe top 6 for Ultra League Halloween Cup this past season. I don't think it's as good as the Sims make it seem, but it definitely has some play. And Brutal Swing is a nice upgrade to it. All right, the big meta changer here. We got Ampharos, my man Butters' favorite Pokemon. Thinking that this thing can be the meta-defining Pokemon all the way at the top of S. Who knows? At least at the bottom at the S, right? But let me tell you, this is just straight garbage, man. Look, let me sip this for you, okay? Let's see how good Ampharos is. In Open Ultra League, it's ranked 202. Shadow's 229, right? Zap Cannon, Brutal Swing. Obviously, you might be running Focus Blast. Still, I ain't going to help you much. 267 in the Shadow version, right? Volt Switch, Brutal Swing, Zap Cannon. Dude, alright, let me put it this way. Can you beat a Pelipper? Safe swap a Pelipper here. Alright? So we're running Ampharos, Brutal Swing, Zap Cannon, right? You don't need Focus Blast in this matchup, right? You could bait all you are. You're probably not going to run Thunder Punch, right? You're probably going to run Brutal Swing and like Focus Blast or something else, right? It's probably going to be Focus Blast. You're probably not going to run Thunder Punch because you already had the Volt Switch damage. Alright. So we'll do the non-shadow first. Pelipper into it, right? You win. But if you have a wing attack worth of energy, what happens here? Okay. It's not too bad, I guess. Okay, I guess you do a little more than I expected. Alright, let's look at the shadow variant, though. Because that's what people are hyping about. Okay, I guess it does beat Pelipper consistently. Maybe I shouldn't say too much. Okay. Alright, but outside the Pelipper matchup, I just think it's pretty weak. I don't know. I think it's pretty weak. I will cut this part out of my YouTube video. Some people don't know. But, dude, I don't know, man. Just you gotta cut out this propaganda. Alright, I guess it does beat everything in the S tier. I'll put it this way. Am I biased? Everyone's biased. That's the truth to that question. Why wouldn't you run Thunder Punch? Because you probably want the coverage move. Brutal Swing's really nice, and then Focus Blast. You do so much damage with Volt Switch already, you don't really need more electric damage. Although, Thunder Punch could be interesting into like Azumarill and stuff. So there is that, because otherwise you get walled off by Azumarill walls off the entire rest of the movesets. So yeah, but Maybe Brutal Swing and Thunder. You probably run Zap Cannon. Thunder's kind of a weird move. I would run Thunder Punch if you're gonna run any electric move. Yeah, glad no Queen's in the grave. Alright, I'll put it this way. Ampharos is in F tier until proven otherwise. I need to see some results with Ampharos, alright? I need to see someone win a regionals or international in the next 3 months before the next GPL update for this to move up a tier, right? That's why I put it out there. I put it out there on Twitter already. I challenged Butters. I said, you know what? I'll transfer my Bastion if it happens. And until then, I'm convinced it's an F tier Pokemon. Yes, I think logistically, like realistically, yes. I'm putting in F tier because of all this like propaganda that Butters is dropping on people. Realistically, this would probably be about here or here. Yeah, okay. Let's be fair about this, right? I'm just trolling around. Let's put Ampharos right here if we're going to be realistic. Actually, no. Let's put it here. Because here's the thing. It does beat all the top tier Pokemon, right? I mean, if you could beat a safe swap Pelipper, that's really nice. That's really nice. Okay, let's be real here. The real F tier Pokemon is Golurk. Stop making Golurk happen. It's not happening. Golurk's a real F tier Pokemon. Alright, so those are all the buffs. And here's how I'm going to do the rest of this tier list. Did I miss anything? No, I think everything that got buffed, I accounted for. That's relevant, right? Obviously, there's some random stuff that I'm not going to cover, like Gligar. But, so the rest of the Pokemon here are Pokemon that are top of the meta for the most part that you'll see in Open Great League or these Championship Series tournaments hosted from the Pokemon Company and different Show 6 formats. And what I'm really ranking here is how strong they are in this current meta post-update, right? So obviously everything you see on the screen right here is things that have been changed. Everything here hasn't really been changed much, but how do these changes impact these Pokemon will determine their rankings. So let's go with Galarian Stunfisk because it's the top used Pokemon in Open Show 6 formats right now, and it's used a lot in Open Great League and Ultra League. Is this still S tier? I really think Galarian Stunfisk usage is about to drop off a lot. A lot. So I'll put it at top of A tier. Very strong Pokemon, but it's just all these updates are really wreaking havoc on it, right? Its benefit is that it beats Registeel. Alright? But outside of that, like, why would you run a Galarian Stunfisk in Open Show 6 format in Great League? It's slightly better into Trevenants. Not amazing. I mean, if you look at the other thing, Nidoqueen got nerfed, right? Another reason why Galarian Stunfisk usage is going to drop. The reason why Galarian Stunfisk is so good in this past season Go Battle League and 3 months and in these Show 6 tournaments is because Walrein got nerfed, Walrein usage drops, Nidoqueen usage increases, and what's better into Walrein, Registeel or Galarian Stunfisk? Galarian Stunfisk. What's better into Nidoqueen, Galarian Stunfisk or Registeel? Galarian Stunfisk. What's better into all these? Well, the Flyers are more or less about the same. But now that you have Nidoqueen nerfed, and then Walrein's still just kind of non-existent, but it can make a comeback into all these flying Pokemon like Noctowl, Pidgeot, Pelipper. There's not too much utility for Galarian Stunfisk, right? You're in a losing matchup against a lot of the Flyers now. Pelipper, attack-weighted Noctowl, right? Noctowl with energy advantage, all that stuff. And you don't have Nidoqueen to target. So what is the biggest utility? I mean, there's utility in Galarian Stunfisk, but you're better off just running Registeel. Which is why I think Registeel is going to be top of the tier list here, S tier. Because it beats all of this. Well, it definitely beats Ducklet. But it beats all of this very convincingly. And it's good against Pokemon like Aurorus, which you probably won't see at Show 6. Still beats all the Charmers. It has play into fighters, right? Like, Medicham has a shield. Medicham does have the shield and 0 shields into Galarian Stunfisk if you just make sure you throw your energy. But against Registeel, you have to shield, right? Unless you're running like Dynamic Punch or... I think in a Power Punch, you have to shield. Bassie going to eat well this season? Dude, you know it. I will say, to be fair, for those that don't like Bassi or whatever, or for me to be like real about it, Bastion was much harder to use in this previous Show 6 format. In Go Battle League, it always has to play because it's blind format, but in Show 6 format, it was actually pretty tough to use because there's Swampert and Galarian Stuff everywhere. Now that you got this thing, this little Pelipper thing, it's going to be very, very strong. I think Walrein is interesting. Yeah, I put it here. You know why? It's much better, more consistent, I think, into the flying Pokemon. They have to land an Hurricane on Pelipper for it to be meaningful. Obviously, they can bait you to Oblivion, but they could just go straight Weather Ball and beat the Galarian Stunfisk. This is a different story for Walrein. Walrein still got nerfed, right? But I think Walrein utility may pick up because of the lack of the... because of... Well, I don't know. It just might pick up just because of the meta, right? I think it's really much better. It's because Galarian Stunfisk is not as good. I could definitely see some Walrein Registeel cores again. And here's the thing. Registeel into Walrein is still not a great time for the Walrein, but you still get to Earthquake just as quickly as you used to before it got nerfed. It was the Icicle Spear got nerfed, so you can't really bait as easily, but you can still hit a hard-hitting Earthquake pretty consistently. And most Registeels don't shield that either. Here's the thing. Walrein also benefits from the Charm nerf because the matchup against A9 is not as bad as it used to be. So let me sim this for you all so you can kind of see what it looks like. So we'll just use like standard IVs that they have here. Ninetales, right? So we'll use Charm Ninetales, Weather Ball, Psyshock, Great League. All right. So right now, you lose, like you kind of lose the Zero Shield. It's close. A9 finished off with 20 health. And then in one shield, A9 survives with 7 HP. 2 shields you just lose, right? Because his Charm just chews through you. Now, if you go to previous seasons, if you go to the previous, so current season, right? Before the update. Obviously, by the time people see this video, it'll be different. You just lose way harder. So, obviously, Zero Shield, completely the same. For the most part, because you get the Psyshock. You finish off with 20% health. But in the one shields... Alolan Ninetales ends up being able to charm you down without throwing a single move. This is obviously non-Shadow Walrein, which means you finish off with more than half of your health with Alolan Ninetales in the one-shield scenario before the charm is nerfed. When the charm is nerfed, you have to throw energy, or you just can't charm down very easily. You finish off with 7 HP as opposed to over 70 HP. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. That's a good example of how impactful the charm nerf really is. I think Walrein could be useful. It has way more utility, I think, in this current meta than Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk always has utility, but it just gets outpaced by the Registeel. Also, so another reason is Swampert. Walrein can beat Swampert, Galarian Stunfisk can't. And you should expect to see a lot of Swampert still because of the Registeel. I'll put it right here. Swampert is going to have a great matchup against the increased usage in Registeel. Noctowl for Swampert is not a terrible time for Swampert. And Pidgeot, not a terrible time, because those Hydro Cannons really add up, right? These things also mean there might be less Altaria, so Swampert can thrive there. Yeah, lose the Pelipper, so you have to watch out for that one. Lose the Walrein, but Swampert should be a very reliable check to Registeel. And you also beat all these weird, like, spice, kind of top-tier spice picks, like Charizard, Gliscor, Aurorus. Mammal's a Master League Pokemon, but yeah, Swampert should be still pretty solid. It's just one of the most reliable counters to Registeel, and with Registeel on the rise, you can definitely do that. Altaria. It's still very strong. I will say that. It's much better into Pelipper, and a Galarian Stunfisk nerf is nice. I put it here. So, it has more utility than Galarian Stunfisk in my opinion, right? You're better off into Swampert than Noctowl is. You're decent into Pelipper, right? Because they had to go for the Hurricane. I mean, you're going to lose the Registeel either way, right? Kind of neutral into Noctowl, Pidgeot. Off onto Walrein, if that does become usage. But the thing is, Altaria at least has some play into some of the waters and some of the flyers, whereas Galarian Stunfisk is typically just strictly worse than Registeel is in that role. So, Altaria doesn't get his role replaced by a lot of these flyers, just that these flyers are going to be more prominent and they're going to get buffed, right? Galarian Stunfisk tier going down kind of fast. it's getting bumped down. It's getting bumped down. Skarmory. I love Skarmory. It's kind of glassy. It's kind of glassy. I might put it here for now. I don't know. Here's another problem with Skarmory. Its increase in Registeel usage makes this matchup even worse. Palper has spammy weather balls for it. Like, it's just so glassy. Like, the Sableye matchup versus Skarmory is not great. Swampert versus Skarmory is not great. Like, it didn't get nerfed, but I just wasn't a huge fan of Skarmory in general. And then, you know, Walrein increasing usage is not fun. Ampharos, yeah, that's true. Yo, Ampharos is about to knock this down a tier. Yeah, all these Ampharos coming out. Alright, let's talk about the final steel type that I haven't really covered. Bastiodon. It's hard to use. It's still very hard to use. But I put it here. It's going to lose to this. Beats all of this. Doesn't beat this. Beats this. Beats this. Loses that. Beats all of... Well, these two. Gliscor, not really. I mean, I've beaten Gliscor with Bastiodon, but it's not been clean. Beats this, right? And then Nidoqueen is also nice, too. Galarian Stunfisk. It's... The reason why it's so good is because it beats Pelipper and Noctowl. You can't, like, those Pokemon are really strong in the safe swap, but if you get locked into Bastiodon, there's no way out. Whereas there's some ways out against stuff like Walrein stuff, right? Obviously, Registeel is just typically better, but Registeel loses Trevenant. And Trevenant, it's kind of a weird matchup versus Bastiodon, so there's some utility there. Is it easy to use, though, in a Show 6 format? No, right? You lose to the other steel types. You lose to all the fighters. You lose to the ground/waters. But that's about it. You typically beat everything else on the roster. So obviously alignment is really important. But if you get, it's like a coin flip sometimes, right? But if you get the coin flip you want, you might win half of your matchups with it. It's pretty good odds. Galarian Stunfisk, you're gonna lose to some of the flyers, the fighters, the waters. Maybe Registeel, so you don't have as much utility on Galarian Stunfisk anymore, right? As a comparison, Frostlass, this had kind of like had some spark this season, you know, especially in Great League, Open Great League, and limited cups. I mean, in limited formats, it always has play, but again, with the onset of Auroras, it just loses to the other Powder Snow user, which is not great. I put it here, I guess. Here's a problem with Frostlass. I don't see a utility on it anymore. You know, like, what are you going to use it for? Yeah, I'm actually going to bump it a little lower. Let's go here. Maybe I'll do my Frostlass a little dirty, but I just don't see anyone, especially in a Show 6 format, in Open Show 6 format, bring this over other options. I just don't see it. You could, but with a meta focus around Registeel again as the top pick, maybe some Walrein sprinkled in. Frostlass just has less utility, right? You just get walled off. Frostlass is usually really good in limited formats, which is a good, it's very telling of how good it's going to be. But the problem is just like Auroras now with Meteor Beam. I mean, and you got Steelix as well. Frostlass is ranked 29. Which is like, yeah, that's not too bad. But if you look at the list of things ranked above it, Togedemaru was 13. If you're ranked lower than a Togedemaru, you know something's wrong. Obviously, Togedemaru has Felsinger, so it's kind of bait dependent. But like, Togedemaru, you got Munchlax ranked higher, right? Munchlax has been kind of weird lately, and even that's decent. You got Regice. Regice is ranked 27. When you have Regice ranked higher than a Frostlass, you know something's up. Here today, Togedemaru. That's hilarious. I'm gonna use that line one day. Let's talk about grass types real quick because there's only 2 on here. Trevenant. This is a weird one. So the reason why I say it's weird is because yes, it's much better into Registeel than it is in Galarian Stunfisk, and Registeel usage is gonna pop off. But the problem is when you got a wing attack buff, whoo, that's not easy to bring. You get locked in Noctowl, good luck. Some random person brings a Pidgeot, good luck. Pelipper versus Trevenant is not a fun matchup either. Look, let's just sim that real quick. Trevenant versus Pelipper. Obviously, you have the bait potential here, but Pelipper could just go straight Weather Ball, to my knowledge. Yeah, it's you have to land a Shadow Ball. So you win the 0 shields, obviously. But it's just not very clean. Let's just say if you go straight Weather Ball with Pelipper, you still win it pretty hard in 2 shields. Yeah, you have the 2 shield, but the thing is you consistently win and you have come out with energy on Pelipper. It's not a bad time, you know. And in the 1 shield, you have to land a Shadow Ball. And even if you land a Shadow Ball, these are just like sim IVs, you come out with 10 HP and 0, like 1 energy. So I don't know. Even the Pelipper matchup is not great. It's not comfortable for sure. And they just have to. And if you bait them with Z-Bomb, they might just double shield and just come out with energy, right? So I don't know. I've been in that matchup, Trevenant versus Pelipper, and I'd much rather beat Pelipper every single time. Obviously beat Swampert and stuff, but it's so risky with all the Noctowls running around. Like Sableye is still going to be around. Sableye's going to be pretty good too. I'll talk about that more later. But Sableye's going to be pretty good with Charm Nerf, like other dark types. Yeah, it's a weird one. The problem is its utility is still very good. I put it here. It has very strong utility and coverage that nothing else really has. But just I don't think Grass types are going to thrive as much right now. That's the problem. So I think that's the biggest issue here. Venusaur. Problem with Venusaur now is Galarian Stunfisk is dropping off in usage, and you have Registeel back in the picture. Which means, I don't know, it's kind of worse. I mean, yeah, Venusaur is not walled off by the wing attack users like Noctowl and Pidgeot, but you're not winning those matchups in all likelihood. Not if you weren't winning them now, and you're definitely not winning them after they get a buff, right? And nothing has changed with Venusaur. It's unique, but I think Trevenant's still better now if we're expecting to see more Registeel. So that's a big one. All right, let's talk about some of the water types though. Yo, Lantern. Jake called it S tier, and I think so. Why? Because the 2 main grass types are A tier. They're A tier because they're hard to use, which means there'll probably be a good chunk of Show 6 teams that don't have any grass types. And they're less Galarian Stunfisk. Shoot, you're in luck. And honestly, here's the thing. Water Gun Lantern is not that bad. Alright, let's say you're running Water Gun Surf, right? You don't need to throw Thunderbolts. You're running into Swampert. Swampert, let's say hypothetically, are going straight Earthquake. If you're going straight Earthquake with Swampert, you beat the Swampert if you're running Water Gun Surf. In the 1 shield, you come out with 153 out of 94. 194 of your health. Over 3/4 of your health on Lantern against a Swampert. And in the 2 shield, you also come out with about half your health. If they're going straight Earthquake. Let's say they have Hydro Cannon and Earthquake, that might be a different story. Yeah, I mean, if they bait you, they'll have to bait you. But Swampert having to bait Electric type is not a great time. Galarian Stunfisk as well. I don't think there's going to be too much Galarian Stunfisk, but even if they do have Galarian Stunfisk, you go straight Earthquake, you win the 1s and the 2s. If they could bait you with Rock Slide, again, probably gets a little muddier. Yeah, you almost win the 0s and you almost win the 2s. In the 0 shield scenarios, Lantern versus Galarian Stunfisk, the Galarian Stunfisk comes out with 6 HP. And here's a big one, Registeel. It beats Bastion, so I don't even need to sim that one. You beat the Registeel in the 1 shield scenario and the 2 shield scenario. So Lantern is actually pretty S tier. And it beats the Flyers. Let's put it here. Let's put it there. Pelipper's very game defining, but that Lantern is pretty bonkers. Azumarill, tale as old as time. Very strong Pokemon, Great League PvP. Less grass types is going to benefit it. But the problem is Registeel. Registeel usage is going to make it kind of rough. It has unique coverage, but the thing is, Pelipper, honestly, Pelipper into Azumarill is not that bad. I've been in that situation before. And especially if you're safe swapping it, they're counter swapping you, it's not a great time. Lantern usage, jumping through the roof, that's not going to be a good time for Azumarill. And then Noctowl with a buff, not great. And then also Bastion too. I mean, if you're not running Hydro Pump, which I think more will with Registeel, but let's say if you're not, Bastion just wins that. And if you are running and they shield it, it gets really weird too. So, you know, Azumarill is really good in this recent meta because of Galarian Stunfisk being the primary steel type. And originally a lot of Altaria, now more so Noctowl. But even though Nidoqueen got a nerf, I think Azumarill does drop in some utility, unfortunately. Let's put it here. Yeah, let's put it there. It's not going to be a lot of fairies, I think. Successful fairies, at least. Yeah, we'll just cover this last water type, which is Toxapex. Galarian Self is getting nerfed or not being utilized as much is great and all, but Registeel taking its place is not helping your case at all. Increased Lantern usage is not fun, and the decreased usage in Azumarill is also going to hurt it a little bit. It's kind of neutral into the flyers. I mean, it's pretty bulky, so it might win those, but not by much. And then also, Swampert being prevalent as ever is not a great time for it too. And then Trevenant dropping in a little bit in usage is also not that great because it was decent into Trevenant. Trevenant would have to shield a lot of times. And then Walrein potentially picking up usage. That Earthquake is definitely going to hurt. But you're also resisting the Powder Snow, so it's not the worst matchup. I might put it here. I'll put it here for now. It's interesting. You can tank the Thunderbolts decently well against Lantern, especially if they're running Water Gun. Yeah, let's put Toxapex there for now. Especially if Nidoqueen usage is going to drop a little bit, right? All right, let's talk about the fighters. Or the counter users. There's really just two that are relevant. Medicham, king of all fighters. So it's gonna be interesting because it's a little bit worse into Registeel than Galarian Self. Like I said, especially if you're running Ice Punch, Psychic, you really need to shield the Registeel, which is unfortunate, but that's the case. Not too bad into Lantern, not terrible into Noctowl, all things considered, and not bad into Swampert. Pidgeot, I don't know. You're probably not gonna see Pidgeot too much in Show 6 formats at least. Pelipper matchup is kind of iffy. Not really a huge fan of it, but if you land a Psychic, you could definitely do some stuff. And then obviously you're great into Bastion and Walrein and Chiefus and stuff like that. Decreased usage in Trevenant is going to be pretty nice. I put it here still. It's still so good. It's still very good. Honestly, Pidgeot? I'm going to bump Pidgeot down. Main reasoning is Pidgeot's really good in Ultra League, but you're not going to see it much in open formats. You're going in Open Great League as well. Noctowl's just better, right? It's still really good, but I just don't... It doesn't have coverage moves. Medicham is just still very strong, so we'll put it up here. Obstagoon's an interesting one. I actually don't think Obstagoon's as good anymore. You got increase in flyers, right? In usage in flyers, so... I mean, this is going to resist the counter damage. This is going to take neutral, but you get the moves faster, so that's not great. Versus Lantern is like kind of neutral already. Medicham, you just hard lose. Swampert, it's not great. Bastion, I mean, you're going to win that one, so that's fine. Pidgeot, you're probably not going to see that much Pidgeot, but the big thing is Registeel. You have to shield Registeel. You don't have to shield the Galarian Stomp as much. You kind of have to respect the Focus Blast every time, because it's less energy than the Zap Cannon, so worst case scenario is you shield the Zap Cannon, you know. If you no shield it, still, it's a lot of damage. I think most typically just go straight Focus Blast. So because Registeel picks up in usage, then Obstagoon is a little bit hard to use. And, you know, before it was really good because there was Trevenant on everyone's teams. Sableye, but Trevenant dropping in usage, it might change things. Azumarill and Toxapex dropping in a little bit of usage. Or Toxapex might be about the same. Azumarill dropping a little usage is nice. For Obstagoon and less Charmers is nice. But the problem is, what are you really targeting at this point? It might be fairly safe, but you have to expect a Medicham on every team. And a Registeel on most teams. Or a Fighter on every team, right? Because I think the problem is, now everyone's going to check Obstagoon with Fighters, not Fairy types. So you're still in a kind of tough spot. I think it still could be good. I just don't know if the coverage is as nice. Let's put it here. I think that's a good spot. I think most people are going to not run Altaria as a flyer, and I think most people are not going to run their counter user as Obstagoon, but they're both decent backup options. Let's go with Sableye. Very common Pokemon. Pretty solid. Wing attack buff, not great. Wing attack buff from Pelipper, not great either. Registeel matchup, it's about the same. Honestly, we saw how that played out last season. And then Medicham's always going to be prevalent. So, Sableye's still really solid, I think. With a little bit less Trevenant usage, if I predict that correctly. It's not nearly as strong, but still pretty good. I mean, it's still an S-tier Pokemon, I think. There obviously are hard walls to it, like Noctowl. But, like, it's not even that hard of a wall. But, like, really solid walls to it. But the thing is, there's going to be a lot of people expecting Noctowl. So I think it's still S tier for sure. Here's the thing. Charm got nerfed. So if Charm got nerfed, Sableye has a lot more play. Maybe less Azumarill too. Sableye's still pretty hard to stop, I think. Noctowl buff makes Lickitung hard to use. Registeel increase in usage makes Lickitung hard to use. Another strong check to Sableye. So if Lickitung usage drops off, then Sableye looks even better. I'd probably put it here. Registeel being back in the picture is really annoying. Noctowl buff makes it really annoying. But this thing is still really, really strong. So you definitely never want to count it out. It's just I don't think it has as much utility as it did this current season. Kind of like Trevenant, you know? Like Trevenant was able to still thrive decently with all these Noctowls around, but it's just going to get harder for these two in this current meta. Umbreon was like kind of okay. It was like it's always been a very solid pick. Now here's the thing, Umbreon's a lot better with less charm. Umbreon's a lot better with a Nidoqueen nerf because that Poison Fang damage was adding up. Umbreon's a lot better if Azumarill drops off in usage. But it's a lot worse when Registeel picks up in usage. The thing is, Umbreon's so bulky, it hangs in with like everything else though for neutral. It's just still pretty good. It's just that this matchup is kind of unfortunate. I don't know. It's a lot better into Noctowl. I actually think Umbreon's pretty good. I'm really tempted putting an S tier, but I don't know. It's a really high A, low S tier, I think. I think that's kind of surprising because people are always like, Umbreon's like good, but like not top of the leaderboard. I think Umbreon's actually pretty good. I think Umbreon is. Especially with increase in Noctowl usage, it's going to be better than Lickitung, I think, in some respects. And for neutral matchups, right? It's just a damage soaker. And if there's not a lot of Charmers, it's very safe. Registeel, not fun, but like they're probably going Focus Blast straight away. Well, I guess I could Zap Cannon first. But they not guaranteed debuff, and you're doing a lot of neutral damage. So I'd say Umbreon's pretty solid. Press. Ooh, this is a big loser, unfortunately. Registeel picking up usage, not great. Noctowl, especially when Noctowl got Shadow Ball, but Noctowl now with Wing Attack buff as well, generating energy faster. Yo, this Noctowl and Crest matchup is not fun for the Crest. Like, you would think Crest is so bulky, it can outbulk through everything, but I don't think so. I mean, it's great into Lantern, but it's just if you bring this just for a Lantern, it's such a gamble, because if you get it locked in the Registeel, it's just over. You get it locked in the Red Bastion, not a fun time. I mean, you do some chip damage with Grass Knot, but they just smack you down. Sableye is still really strong into it. Like, it just, I mean, there's still gonna be Lickitungs here or there. Trev is still going to be around. Like, honestly, if people use Grass, it's still gonna be Trev. I just don't think a lot of people be using Grass. I put above Skarmory, I guess. I don't know. You have play into the Swampert at least. And Lantern, those are pretty big ones. Decent in play into the Pelipper. It's hard to bring, but I also don't think Skarmory's that easy to bring. Like, why would we bring Skarmory over the other flyers, right? We'll see how it goes. There is a tournament upcoming. 2 tournaments, Toronto and Stuttgart, I believe. I believe those are the only 2 this upcoming weekend. Those are going to be the first big championship series, official championship series tournaments since this update, which is about to happen in 3 hours. So that's going to be huge. It's going to be very exciting to watch. Oh, 3 actually. Brisbane. Yes. Yeah, Brisbane as well in Australia. You're right. So 3. So that's actually pretty big. So 3 different regionals. That's going to be huge. I'm very excited to see what happens. And I'm just hoping that not a single Ampharos sweeps the tournaments. But if it does, I'll transfer Bastion. I'm a man of my word. Anyway, thanks all for stopping by. This was fun. And let's see if my predictions are on points or complete hot garbage. Because if it is, I'll be the first one to admit it. But I feel pretty good about this one. Thanks all for tuning in. And I will check you all later. Peace.